Hey, hello everyone. So we here with Zack, who is a senior engineer in Norwell, and also he also make a lot of videos in Angular in Twitch and also YouTube channel. We can check it out. The name is Jack Derose. So maybe Jack, you can introduce.
Yeah, yeah. Hey everyone, it's so cool to be here. We're in India. This is awesome. This is the modern world at work, and it's awesome. It's kind of early for me right now. It's 4:30 a.m. here, but
Wow.
last month I had Santosh, who made the connection to get us in contact. He came on
Yeah.
my show, and it was 4 a.m. for him, so I figured I had the karma coming to me. So
Okay, great. Okay, Jack, over to you. Maybe you can start with your presentations.
yeah. Do you want to put my screen up and
Yeah,
I'll start it up?
yeah, I'm adding screen.
Cool. Can y'all see it? I actually can't tell now.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's on
cool.
screen. Okay.
Cool. All right. So, hey, everyone, this is the first time I'm actually giving this talk. I've recorded it before, and I'm going to give it again later this week. Yeah, this for everyone listening now, you're getting the premiere. So this is about increasing developer productivity by a factor of n with nx, more than just a monorepo. And the prevailing theme of this talk, and really my life, is going to be this fire emoji, which is going to be used to like symbolize passion and enthusiasm for what you're doing. So to give a quick synopsis of what's going on in this talk, we're going to start a little bit with my story with NX, which kind of parallels the path NX takes. Then we're going to talk about what is NX, a 10,000 foot view. And next, we'll talk about the specific components of NX, kind of digging into the interesting pieces there. And finally, we'll have a little section on empowering developers and empowering the community. And so just to set some expectations on what this talk is and what this talk is not, this is really an introduction to NX, letting you know what it is we're trying to accomplish, how we're trying to accomplish that. What it's not is like a nitty gritty going into the details of like how to set up an NX repo or all the intricacies that come with that. But we do have a lot of content available for if you're looking for that kind of detail. I'll link to it at the end of my talk to some step-by-step video tutorials if you're interested in that. We also have a free course available on nxplaybook.com. I'll provide the link to that later as well. And there's a lot of other resources available as well on nx.dev. So without further ado, though, let's talk about with my story with NX. So my story starts out in this business in 2015. And I was building IVRs in Java. If you don't know what an IVR is, when you call into like a bank or your cable company or your internet provider, usually you get an automated system first. You don't get an actual person. And that automated system is what you would call an IVR. I forget what it stands for, but that's pretty much what's going on there. And we also built admin web portals for them for an administrator to kind of configure them and whatnot. And so we were building this originally in JSP, which was not super fun, but it worked, you know. But I knew there had to be something better out there, and so there's definitely the defining characteristic of the frameworks we were working with, the languages we were working with, friction. Friction what was defining everything we did. It made it so I felt like I was struggling more fighting my tools than like actually working on the actual problems in play. So it was, yeah, there were some pieces of that were kind of frustrating. But in a similar time frame, Angular 2 arrives on the scene in September 2016. I don't know exactly how this happened, but my company at the time had contracted to do an Angular app for one of their projects instead of the JSP stuff, and it needed to be polished and all this stuff. And I was super intrigued by Angular, and it seemed to be that thing out there that I thought was better that just kind of existed somewhere out there. And so I said I volunteer, and jumped at the prospect of being able to do something with Angular. And the project was a big success for the company and for me. And more importantly, though, I was validated. There's some better out there in terms of, you know, a better framework, better developer experience. It was just orders of magnitude better than where I had been with the frameworks I was using in Java here. So for me, this was like the starting spark of like getting super invested and interested and engaged in development. Then building on top of the success, so we have built a lot of cool stuff in our first Angular project. It seems like it all should be reusable with some minor adjustments. And looking across the company, all kinds of other projects going on, and we were all just rebuilding the same thing in JSP. Just we would all start from scratch every time. And it seemed like there was like a lot of wasted work there. And in addition to that, with all of our projects, there's inconsistent quality, styling, theming, versions even across all of our different projects and products. And so I got put in charge of a team, and we started moving to NX from our Angular repos. And we were tasked with building a company product, and we decided to use the NX workspace for this. We had seen Victor Savkin and Jeff Cross, who had just broken out from the Narwhal team. They were involved with the initial Angular release and then broke off to form Narwhal and build NX. And we saw them do a presentation, and it was like exactly what we were looking for in terms of trying to accomplish all of our goals of like unifying all the projects on the left-hand side of the screen here. So while we were building up our product, we built all these common libraries. The product still needed, it was just another admin GUI, really. So we figured, well, we've built these all 100 times. Let's finally make them so we can just pull them off the shelf. And the crowning achievement of all this was we were able to build an entire app. While working on this product, we had another project come in that usually would have taken us, several months to complete. We actually were able to finish it in less than a week just by using the common libraries we had built for the product. So that was very cool. Felt very enthused, was very engaged in everything. The fire was definitely growing for me there. But then we move into the next chapter. I was like super enthralled with the NX tools and was following Narwhal on Twitter. They just happened to tweet that they were hiring, and I sent my resume, and I ended up getting hired. So my job switched a little bit. Rather than leading my own team, I'm now consults, and I go across to a bunch of other teams in the US, and we work for like large companies. They're all using NX, and they're all doing sort of interesting problems, and they bring us on, and we get to kind of see a lot of stuff. And with that comes this kind of cross-pollination. So like bees collecting pollen for honey, they ended up like being a crucial part of the ecosystem, sharing that pollen across the flowers. That's kind of like our job as we go across teams. And we work every day hands-on with NX. We're able to bring that back to the project. And Narwhal has an awesome team. Raris was in the comments. And so, hey, Raris, if you're still there. And everyone's awesome at Narwhal. And also the people we work with for consulting us also tend to be pretty cool and very good at what they do. And also exposure. Like right now we're in India. That's awesome. But being able to see how other people are using NX and being able to share more of how to do things well, this all creates this really cool like cycle where we can like take all the benefits of all of these and bring them to the other pieces of this circle, and we bring them all into NX. And this is super cool. The fire is definitely burning super bright right now for me. So that's kind of my story. That's who I am. And I think some of this stuff kind of parallels what's going on with NX, but we'll get into that now. So what is NX? And this is the 10,000 foot view. Going into, where we had discussed about Angular dropping onto the scene in September 2016. So Angular came on the scene, and it brought with it this really cool tool set that kind of took all these things you normally need in a repository And like as soon as you run that command ng new, it wires all this stuff up for you and creates this intricate web that if you have to dive deep into it, you probably don't realize all this cool stuff it does. But the Angular CLI will let you, it'll automatically integrate Git for you. It will set you up with Karma and Jasmine, so you don't have to worry about configuring any of that. You don't have to worry about your Webpack or building or anything like that, or your end-to-end tests. It's kind of all set up for you with Protractor. But NX tries to take things, we pretty much take the same idea and we want to build on it and bring it to the next level. And one of the first ways we tried, we bring it to the next level is providing additional options for your unit tests and for your end-to-end tests. So NX brings with it the ability to test in Jest, and it has for a long time now. And it's pretty cool that we use Jest by default. It's definitely my personal preference, but if you prefer Karma and Jasmine, you can also go back to those when you use NX. And so it's just like an option you can upgrade to, or you can choose to stick with what you have. And similar with Cypress. And for me, Cypress is a much, I much prefer using Cypress to Protractor. So it's really cool to just be able to have these. And just like with Karma and Protractor in a normal Angular repo, these things like are effortlessly, trivially installed for you. And there's very little configuration or anything you have to set up aside from just running your schematic to say add a library and use Jest and use Cypress. So in addition to the additional tools we bring, we also bring these tools to more frameworks. So you'll see here we support React as well on the front end, but kind of more interestingly for us, since we're an Angular we're an Angular meetup here. You could also support backend frameworks like Nest.js or Node or Next.js. I guess that's more of a React thing. But being able to have your backend in the same repo as your front end is actually like really, really great in terms of like synchronizing your releases and being able to share code between backend and front end, and using Cypress to run them both at the same time and do like a full end-to-end test of your full stack, which is really cool. And also we bring in additional tools that the Angular CLI kind of tool set doesn't have via Storybook. So we have a Storybook plugin, an official Narwhal Storybook plugin that will let you generate a Storybook app for a component library, for example, or any library, any Angular library or any React library for that matter. And it'll scaffold all this stuff for you, all the configuration and stuff you'd have to worry about if you're setting up Storybook by yourself. You don't have to. You just run the schematic, and it all works. And you can even integrate it with Cypress automatically, and we'll wire that all up for you as well. So you can run a Storybook app against your components, use Cypress to do some end-to-end testing on that, effectively kind of giving you testing for your components kind of free out of the box that aren't tied to a specific app. So very cool. And when you bring in all of the community plugins that are available, we have Go, Capacitor, Ionic, Nuxt, some Docker stuff, Stencil, Vue, and Python, all the stuff provided by community members. Super cool. It all works as well as kind of using Angular. So it's a very cool environment to be in. It's a very exciting environment. And that kind of brings to everything like NX encompasses. It's everything. Bringing this kind of philosophy and ease of use everywhere you go. So in this next slide here, this is a little clip from a movie, Toy Story, where there's this engineer that comes by. His job, there's a broken toy, and a broken, like, very valuable toy, and this man's here to come fix it. And so if you want to think of this as an analogy, this man is kind of us when we come into a project that needs some work done. And he's coming in and he's got his little toolbox here. So think of this toolbox as maybe NX. And this is the property or the project manager who's like needs a feature done. And we come in and we say, hey, I'm here to build the feature. And so the man comes in, he has this like tool set. He's obviously in a very niche line of work. So he has this tool set that he's built over the years that's exactly suited to his needs, to the point where, you know, he's just effortlessly kind of setting up shop, getting ready to do his work, opening up his little drawers to find his tools, and he sets out to his work. This is kind of cool, just like setting up this thing right here, like almost like he's at a barber shop. But the look on his face right here is what I kind of wanted to focus on. Like, ignore the guy in the background. The engineer right now is intently in focus. You can tell from the look on his face, engaged in his work at the moment. And his tools are there, but it's not like he's focused on his tools. He's focused on his actual work, to the point where his tools and his workspace become like an extension of himself, to where he doesn't even think about that. They're so second nature and so well suited to the task at hand that he actually, oops, I'm skipping ahead. He actually like doesn't need to worry about them, and just is instead focused on the task that truly matters. And so as he sets about his work, you can see this is all maybe analogies to us as we're working on a feature. I think he's here to like fix the toy's arm that got broken off. But as you can see, he's also taking pride in his work, fixing other things that have nothing to do with that arm. Maybe not unlike us as software engineers, when we get assigned a ticket and find some other things that need some fixing. We go in and adjust those, and we've got the tools for it. Why not? You know. So yeah, so he's going about using his tools, fixing the arm now, fixing the actual problem he was hired to fix. And there it goes, stitching everything together. And yeah, putting on the final touches now, getting things ready for a PR, erasing the last comments left in the repo. And there you go. Sent out, ready for a PR, ready for review, and ready to go out to the world. And in the end here, he has this look of like satisfaction on his face. This is what we're going for. Like this is the whole, you know, goal of what we set out to do. Like having this sort of enjoyment and satisfaction with a job well done. So stepping into that. So that's what NX sets out to do. It sets out to make you a developer like that, where you're able to focus on the work at hand and not on your tools and not on configuring all this stuff, because it's already done for you, and we're giving you the benefit of all those years that man had to do setting up his toolbox and his workspace and stuff like that. So some quick philosophy on scaffolding in NX. Part of like making sure all your tools work together well is making sure you have unified dependencies. So in the JavaScript world, this means doing stuff, keeping all your dependencies on the same version, having one package.json you share across your entire workspace to make sure everything's, you know, playing well with each other. You don't have to, you know, be supporting different versions of things as you go. Another thing is separating your workspace into applications and libs. So starting out with the Angular CLI, I think, so I know I certainly did this. I think a lot of Angular developers do this too. You're kind of, just the way the CLI is set up and the limitations of it, you're kind of set up to create an application, an ng module for your application, and then you'll tend to put everything into that ng module and build everything up as your app. And it's, I don't know, things can get kind of muddled. It's like everything's there at a time. In NX, we kind of separate things out into apps versus libs. And an application is really intended to be, you know, very, very small. All it does is have configuration and import other libraries that you've created inside your workspace. So your application would probably just be a singular ng module that probably has your routing and lazy loading and stuff for all your other libs that are involved in this app. And your libraries then are where you keep all of the interesting stuff, all the logic, all the code. And it helps you modularize your code to the point where, like the man in the video, able to isolate his subject of work, and focus intently on it. And all of his tools are set up to be able to focus on that library and focus on the important pieces at a time. And that's kind of like what we do with Storybook, for example, where you can isolate a component, for example, or alternatively, like isolate some small piece of logic, so you're only focused on the one piece at the time. So that's kind of the 10,000 foot view of what NX is and what it's trying to do. Next section here, we'll talk a little bit about the specific components of NX. And you'll see we have the little tool set, kind of like the guy in the video there. So the basic steps to creating an NX workspace is, first you run the script to create an NX workspace. This looks very simple, just npx create NX workspace. And this looks and works very much like ng-new, but because of the nature of NX, you can choose to pull in other plugins aside from just Angular. So you can pull in your Nest and your Node, or React if you wanted to have a workspace that has both frameworks available in them. If you've already created a workspace, you can also see all plugins available to you by running the command nx list. That's going to show you all of the available plugins, all the ones you have installed in your workspace at the time. So if you're thinking about the box again, each one of these plugins is like a little drawer of tools that you use as an engineer, full of schematics and builders. And to install a new drawer into your tool set, you just run npm install or yarn install with the package name that nxlist will provide for you. And so code generation in NX works very much the same way as the Angular CLI. This would look very simple or very similar. You just run ngg, and then instead of just saying library, though, you say the specific flavor of library. So this one is a narwhal workspace one. You could also do a narwhal Angular library, a narwhal Nest.js library, or Angular library or Angular app too. Like the original Angular schematics are available as well. And then you run build targets on your different libraries. So this looks like nxserve my app, the same way you would with the Angular CLI. And step 5, that's it. Like you just do your work after this. And this so it's taking all the cool stuff from Angular and really bringing it across to all the other stuff, all the things really that you could do in sort of the development world. So the core components of NX, when you look at it, like a lot of the stuff is actually coming from the plugins, which are the specific drawers we're adding to our workspace. But there's also like the core pieces. One of these would be schematics that we use for generation. Another is for builders, which we run for doing things like serving our app, building our app, testing our app, linting our app, running end-to-end tests, all that stuff. But NX comes with an additional set of like core pieces of the framework. And one is the dependency graph that we'll look at in a second. Well, there's also the computational cache, which is kind of like a history of all the runs you've done in the past to be able to speed up your work going forward. And also the NX console. So we'll get into these 3 new ones here in the next few slides. So first is the dependency graph, which if you ever run inside of an NX workspace, you can run the command nx-dep-graph, and it'll start a local serve on your machine that'll show you everything about your workspace, all your different projects. You'll see on the left-hand side here, this lists all the apps, and right now we only have a few focused here, but it'll show you exactly how the different libraries in your workspace are connected in terms of dependencies, some information on them if you select one. And yeah, it's super helpful here for the purpose of visualization. If you're trying to understand, well, how does my application work and how do all the dependencies look? I think in normal repos, you want to have something like this, but the way it usually ends up working is some architect is going to kind of like scribble on a napkin or on a whiteboard, this is how things should look. And if that's accurate on day one, it's not a given. Like it's maybe usually this like pie in the sky. Well, this is how things should be, and it doesn't reflect how things actually are. And as time goes on, it's more and more unlikely that this whiteboard drawing, or this diagram that got ended up in your documentation is actually correct as months and years go by in your project. But the depth graph actually gives you kind of like on-demand, accurate information about what your project looks like, and visualization tools to help you see, okay, how do things depend on each other? Is this the way it should depend on each other? And maybe we need to fix something there. But beyond just visualization, our dependency graph allows us to add a lot of increased efficiency in terms of what we can run, and just like better tooling in general. So we'll see in this example, I made a change here in this front end auth module or library inside of our NX workspace. And by running the command NX affected : depth graph, we can actually see in red all of the projects that were affected by this change. So we can see the change happened here, and the dependencies, the things that were affected kind of flow up from the graph. And but things that are kind of parallel to it or downstream from it aren't actually affected. We don't actually need to rerun tests on this, for example. So in this console here that I have up on screen, we show what happens when you run NX affected tests. You can do this with any build target, like linting or building. And excuse me, it'll show you all the projects that are available for testing, things that would be affected based on your Git branches, based on which libs have been affected. And you'll be able to isolate those. So instead of, if you're getting ready to PR this change, I would probably think, well, I got to make sure all my unit tests are passing. What things could possibly fail here? And I'd have to kind of like memorize these or have them in my mind. But by having the affected stuff, I'll just be able to say, oh, let me just run NX affected tests, and it'll go ahead and test all the things for me, which is super nice to have. And also if you integrate this into your CI pipeline, could really speed things up in terms of, only linting or testing or building the pieces that you really need to build. So that's the dependency graph really, and all the stuff it brings. And in addition to the dependency graph, there's also computational caching, which is sort of like a history of all the builders you've run in your in NX against like using the source code, using like hashes of the source code as your keys for the results of each operation. So you'll see here in this terminal here, I've run NX run to-dos builds. So I'm running build on one of my applications. And it's actually going to go out and run it and build all the different things, all the different chunks here. And after, this is a pretty small application, only takes 3 seconds to build. But if I don't do anything to the source code and I end up running this again for some reason, NX is going to come in and check, okay, I've already run this for the source code. Let me go ahead and just pull this out of the history instead. And instead of going through and actually building everything, it's just going to take the console from when you had run it previously, as well as the artifact it generated, so the directory in our dist folder there. It's just going to take all those things and put it into where it needs to be. So it's kind of saving all this stuff in memory for us, so we don't have to,
Hey, I think Jack is get disconnected. I'm checking with him. Jay.
I told you I would be able to. Do you know at what place I disconnected?
Maybe could you share your presentation so I can find it out after graph, dependency graph, after you move to next slide, right?
Sure. Let me
Yeah.
let me jump ahead to that. I'm sorry, I totally went through with the whole talk.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No.
The really unfortunate part about Keynote is it'll like disable all your other monitors. So I have plenty of other monitors I could potentially be watching the stream on.
Okay.
And none of them warned me that I've been disconnected. So anyway,
Okay.
I'll re-go through these slides. Sorry about that.
No, it is.
Yeah. So the dependency graph here. A big piece of this is the visualization of it, being able to know what your project actually looks like.
Zack, we couldn't see your screen in stream.
Oh, you
Sharing?
can't see it. Let me
Yeah.
share that again. Sorry. Here we go, sharing it, and
Yeah, I'm adding to stream.
cool. So y'all can see it now? Test. Well, still there? Yeah, I did get disconnected again. Oh, I think we're there. All right, let me go back.
Yeah, Jack, you're in stream.
Cool. All right, so here we go with the dependency graph. So this
Jack,
is what.
We completed the dependency graph. After that, you just disconnect there. Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about all the different things with affected and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So next we get into computational caching. So computational caching is really just like a history of all the NX commands that you've run in your workspace, kind of indexed off of the source code. So locally, if I run a build on one of my products or one of my projects, the first time I run it, I'll have to actually build everything. But as you do this, NX is going to kind of index this against a hash of the source code to say, okay, looking at the source code, I've already run this build command against this. So if I ever go through and run it again, NX is going to come in and look at its cached output, find that it has a match for the source code that you're running it against and for the target you're running against, and be able to instantly give you the results of this. And we'll replay sort of all the console information that ran, and also take the artifact that was generated by it, if it's like a build, and put that where it would have gone. So we'll take, in this case, we built some chunks and we put it in the dist directory. When we reran it, we did the same thing, and we put the same chunks in the dist directory. So this is really cool, being able to create a dictionary really of all the commands you've run against the source code that you've done inside of your own computer. That's pretty cool. But we can really take this to the next level by taking that cache and distributing it against some sort of central repository. And we have a product for this we call NX Cloud. And it's really simple to do this. You just add a line of configuration inside your NX JSON file, and we'll instantly configure everything up for you so that you're using NX Cloud. And what will happen is every time you run one of these commands locally, it'll send the results in that cache and the hash out to the cloud, out to our central cloud for you, so that if someone else on a different machine happens to run the same source, or the same target on the same source, we'll actually pull that out of the cloud and drop that directly into their machine, which is super helpful for a lot of things. Like for if you're running CI, like your CI is happening on a machine as well, and it's constantly running all of these builds or tests or end-to-end tests. And if you don't have to run those because you've already run them somewhere else, being able to cut all those out is super helpful, to the point where you're now only running every target at maximum once per your source code and for your targets. So with NX Cloud comes sort of these nice tools like this is our GitHub plugin. So you can integrate this with your CI pretty painlessly, and it'll make it so every time you run CI, you'll get a report of all the different NX commands that were run and their results. So we use NX Cloud with our NX open source repo, and you can see this is I just pulled this off of an actual PR, and you can go check it out on GitHub too if you want and see like the results of all the different build steps that happen. And if you click on one of these links, it'll take you to our NX Cloud app, where it'll actually give you details and like the whole console logs of any build step you could have done. It's super helpful for finding like a failing test, for example, and wanting to get help on this from another developer. You can send them a link that'll deep link into one of these issues or one of these targets, and ask for some help, and it'll give you like detailed information on exactly what failed. So super helpful, especially when we're talking about like the different tools and the tool sets that NX gives you. So the next piece of the puzzle is the NX console, which right now we're looking at the VS Code plugin. There's also a plugin available for WebStorm as well if you prefer the JetBrains suite of IDEs. But here we have the VS Code one. You'll see in the top here we've clicked generate, and we could have clicked any one of these the different targets. But by clicking generate, it'll give us a list of all the schematics we have available to us based on our installed plugins. And if we click on one, it'll actually give us this nice form that'll show us all the different potential options we have for the schematic, and you'll be able to fill it out, and it'll if you click that run button up there, it'll run it for you. We also have our common NX commands on the side here. So this would be like your depth graph or your different affected commands. Here we're just going to run affected lib, and we'll click execute here to run that. And when we do that, the terminal opens up. It runs the command we told it to do, and it shows us the result. So super helpful for remembering all the different common commands and all the different tools you have at your fingertips. And also in the bottom here, it'll also list out all the different projects you have. And if you click into one and expand it, it'll show you all the specific targets you can run. So building, serving, this one has a custom builder, serving with API, linting or testing. And if we go to any of these and we click the play button, it'll just go through and run that target against the project. And here's actually running the unit tests, and they fail because this is on a personal side project, and I tend not to write unit tests if I don't have to. So that's the NX console. Super cool for discoverability, finding out all the schematics and builders available to you based on the plugins you've installed, and also for convenience, just for in case you forget. You usually use the command line, but you tend to forget a command or an option, or how it's supposed to look, or how it's supposed to be, how the syntax is supposed to work. Super helpful for just being able to go through that. And also for preference. A lot of people, myself included, kind of really like working with the command line because it feels very intuitive and easy to quickly hit some stuff. But using a command line itself doesn't make you more efficient or a better developer. So for those of you who do prefer like a GUI interface for being able to see your tool set and all the things available to you, it's a great tool for that. And also, I'll use, even though I really enjoy command lines, I'll use it a lot in the cases where I can't remember an option, or I can't remember what exactly it's called. I'll run it like the first time via the plugin, and then because it actually runs in a terminal, I'll actually grab it and add it to my copy paste bin, and then just paste it on later, so I can have it for running just in a terminal later. So those are all the cool components and little features of NX. Next piece is just talking about how NX empowers developers. And being human is like, if we go kind of big brain, here. Being human is really important to understanding how we work as a machine ourselves, how we're separated from other animals, and what makes us unique. And one of the big things about being human is just using tools. So that goes kind of hand in hand with NX. Is really what it is this tool set you can bring with you into your work anywhere you go. And also being able to be engaged, and to be engaged in the work that you really are setting out to do, and not in the how does Webpack work again, or oh, I forgot how to set up Jest, or I forgot how I need to configure Cypress, but I'm getting all these errors. Like this is all those are all things you don't need to be worried about. You want to be focused on the task at hand, and on the goals that you have set out for yourself, and the work you're set out to do. So by being engaged in your actual work, and NX empowers you to do that by kind of taking all that grunt work out of the equation, which is cool. And then finally, just enjoying your work. And I think this is super underrated in terms of what makes us efficient and productive. But being able to not be concerned with all of the pain points of development, and instead focused on like the joy of just being able to create and to build stuff. Being able to maximize that while minimizing the configuration and the kind of tedium. I think that's all super important, and how NX aids in making you a more efficient and productive developer. And so also just taking advantage of the time and the specific world we're in. So for the man in the video, he had his workspace that cost him money, and he probably had to customize it and build it, and like build all these things for himself over years of working on his craft. The nature of open source software is we can build it at Narwhal and give it out for free, and it actually benefits us more to give it out for free to as many people as possible. So we have more eyes on it, more people working with it, more people who could maybe step up and say, hey, this is really cool, but I really need these other tools for this. Let me go ahead and develop this and add this, put this out there for the community to use. And just having a super wide community right now, like with COVID happening, it's amazing to see how well we're able to communicate still with everyone. And in Narwhal, we have people, in Europe, we have people, all over the world, and being able to work with them and see with different perspectives. And right now we're in India, for goodness sakes. Like, this is awesome, being able to have these ties across communities, and to be able to, benefit from other perspectives and other problems, learn about other problems people are having in other places, and just going hand in hand with that, the connectedness of the dev community, just by having meetups like this and being able to share the stuff we do. Like NX is taking advantage of all of this to create what I think is a really, really cool workspace and a real cool tool set. So the thing about Fire, though, is it spreads. So if this stuff seems interesting to you, and you want to get more into it, we have step-by-step tutorials available on nx.dev. There's videos that will walk through these tutorials as well, so you can just follow along with the videos if you like, if that's how you learn. We also have a free course available at nxplayduck.com. There's also paid courses here for like the secret sauce and like the really interesting stuff with NX. I think Yuri's also working on a more holistic course that's going to be released on Egghead pretty soon. And we also have regular NX office hours. Come by. Sometimes I'll host these as well. So we'll answer any questions that come up about NX from the community, and also field like some interesting comments and ideas. And there's also the NX community Slack, where anyone can join and ask some questions or get some help or provide some help. And finally, the last piece, if you end up using NX and you really enjoy it, one of the best things you can do is create your own plugin and share it with the community. And we have some docs on this on NX Dev, how to create your plugin and how to share it. Or if you want to, you can be selfish and keep it to yourself too. So yeah, that's the whole talk. If you like this, make sure to check out nx.dev, and also our product, NX Cloud. You can find that. Just Google NX Cloud or go to nx.app you'll be able to find it and sign up for it. And there's some really simple instructions to add this to any existing NX workspace. And if you like me, check me out on Twitter at Zack Derose, or check me out on my Twitch channel. I stream several days a week, and it's probably pretty early for y'all in India. But yeah, if y'all ever want to come by, feel free to come by and ask some questions in chat about NX or about whatever, and check out some cool guests and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the end of the presentation. And I'll stop sharing now. So no more infinite rectangles. Did you get it all this time?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a great talk. So I just first time hearing about NX tools, and I should try it out.
Yeah, I really think you should, just in terms of making yourself a better developer. I really think it's a really cool tool for helping you with that. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, let's check that some comments. We have questions also.
Cool. And sorry again, y'all. Oh wow, there's a lot of ones here. Yeah, I totally can't see any of the comments as I'm doing it. So if you want to highlight one though, I'll go ahead and respond.
Yeah.
No, Santosh.
Yeah, Santosh also joined. Just a wave hand.
Amen.
Yeah. And also he used NX and also.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the endorsement there, Santosh.
And also Raz has suggestions to use ESLint instead of ESLint. So I think ESLint's getting deprecated, I guess.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of concerning. There's a ticking clock going for TS-lint, where it's going to be deprecated in December. And unfortunately, if you look at the Angular CLI, it's still using TS-lint, and they put out a list of all the things they're looking to get to in the sort of like a backlog that they published and gave out to the community. And upgrading from TS-lit is on there, but it's not available yet. And it's kind of worrisome to see if this will get in time for the December cutoff date when like support for TS-lit gets shut off. So, but if you're using NX, we got that ASLint available now if you want to jump in and use it. So yeah, thanks, Raj.
And also Mitchell has some questions. You could read it, right?
Yeah. So Michael Karen says, hey, Michael, by the way, I have a portal app with login. From this, I go to other apps like User Admin Manager. They all have libs, portal user admin manager. I'm trying to figure out where to put the routing in the libs. So, okay. This is personally for me, Michael, I tend to put routing into the application project itself. So if you have like sort of that top node, you can still, that's your top level ng module. Personally, I tend to just put into my imports for that ng module the router module right there, and pass in all the configurations for the for the router module with all the different paths and the components, and probably you're using lazy loading to hit the child routes there. So that's usually how I would do it in terms of setting up your routing. You could do a lib for it. It's possible to do it, I think, in a similar way where you would do like a specific lib specifically for routing. I think the Angular CLI gives you the option to do something similar where you just have a sort of a routing module that'll just get you set up with the routing module, the router, and you'll configure all your routing there, and you'll just take that and import it into your application. So you could do that too. I tend to think that's like over engineering it just a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and directly import it to the application. So that's how I'd do that.
I think this is the continuous part of that.
Yeah. So the login is a feature login lib under the portal. So yeah, I think the same goes. Like if you have your feature login or your feature modules too, If those have routing themselves, I'd probably put like the routing for that specific feature inside of that lib as well, and then kind of let it bubble up by importing that into your application, or having it import as a lazy load child to your application. So cool.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Questions, I think, Jack.
Cool. Aaron, thanks so much for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
Cool.
So yeah, let's wrap it at 10. Yeah, no more questions. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks all. Thanks for ours. Thanks Dominic and Santosh. Y'all are awesome. Thanks for stopping by. So
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
cool. See y'all.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.